franktalks.com.
This program may contain mature subject matter, including frank discussions of controversial topics. It is intended for mature, open-minded audiences. Discretion is highly advised. This program is entirely independently produced by and is copyrighted by Frank 2005. It is broadcast here under license.
You're listening to Frank Talks, Pleasures and Lifestyles, and I'm Frank because I have to be. On today's show, we have the man who has appeared at both CliffsList Conventions. He's also been interviewed by David D'Angelo. He has 2 CDs out. One is Will on Approaching. Another one he'll be telling us about during the show. He was also good enough to be on Frank Talks previously during our How to Pick Up and Get Laid on New Year's Eve show. He runs a website called youaresoinmyway.com. He is the one, the only, Will. Welcome to Frank Talks, Will.
What's going on, man?
All right, on today's show that we're going to be doing a special expose on our good friend, Will. So, Will, let's start off with some of the basic questions. Where were you born? And tell us a little bit about your upbringing, which eventually led you to becoming a seduction guru.
Wow. Well, I was born in the Bronx, New York, so I'm a New York kid. And my father was a politician and my mom was a teacher, which basically meant they never agreed on anything. So, what really got me into the seduction community was when I was in college. I was too young. I got to college around 16. So basically, I was too young to do anything. Couldn't drink, couldn't drive, couldn't go nowhere. Basically, I just stayed in my dorm room. So I did a lot of reading. Because I figured, well, eventually there's going to come a time where I am going to have to deal with women, so I want to be good and prepared when it happens. And so eventually people started asking me for advice, or because they saw how girls would come up to me for no reason. Usually they asked directions at first, but they was coming up to me. So people would ask me, how'd you do that? And that's pretty much how I got my start.
Would you say that you were not very good with women prior to being 16 and studying?
I couldn't pick up a napkin for that time. I was horrible. I mean, plus I was a skinny kid. I mean, I was so skinny. If I wore pinstripe pajamas, they looked solid. I mean, it was bad. You know? I mean, I had a lot of issues going on I had to straighten out.
You know, I've met you. We've hung out at the CliffsList convention. I can't ever imagine you being that skinny, because you're a very big and now intimidating man. And how did you go from where you were to where you are now in that respect?
Well, I started playing basketball, and my coach pulled me aside and said, if you want to be good at this sport, you're going to have to gain some weight. So I worked a summer job, and my last bit of money from my summer job, I bought a weight bench. And I used that, and I started taking chocolate weight gain and drinking a gallon of milk a day. And basically I went from 6'1", 125. Actually, I looked like an Ethiopian that did push-ups at that point. But to 6'5", 240.
Wow.
So that was my resurrection from that.
So tell me something. As you put on more weight and as you put on more muscle, did you find that you were naturally getting more attention from women, or was that just, a side effect and it was, your inner game that was attracting the women?
Actually, I did get a little bit more attention, but the fact that I didn't really have any inner game to go with it kind of killed any of the attention that I got. It's kind of like you see a nice car, and then you look under the hood, and you're like, oh, well, it looked nice. Let's move on to something else.
And would you get, blown out a set? That, or, give me an example of a woman finding out you had no inner game and what her reaction was.
Well, basically, they could tell just by the way I approached them, the way I walked up to them, and how I wouldn't have anything to say, after hi. I would get all shy and apprehensive, hesitant, not unsure of myself. I mean, listen, I can go on. It's pretty bad.
You see, knowing what I know about you now, it's very difficult for me to think of you in the terms you've just described. So can you tell me a little bit about your development from being really poor with women to having the confidence you exude now?
Basically, it was a lot of crash and burns. What I did, I tried to mimic a lot of other people, a lot of guys that I thought were good with women. For instance, we would go to the club or a college party, and I would just sit and watch people. I'd watch the guys who would go up to girls and the ones that allegedly had success with them. I had no clue what they were saying. To this day, I still don't know what the hell they said. But I would imitate their body language and their mannerisms, and So I also learned at that point, it's not what you say, it's how you say it.
Let's explore that particular idea. It's not what you say, it's how you say it. Give me an example of something that these guys were doing that worked. And since you didn't know what they said, tell me about the things that they were doing. Give me details, if you can, about how they were saying it.
Okay, well, since I really don't know what they were saying, I could tell that the way they were projecting, they weren't yelling. They got real close to talk to the girl, number one. Almost where their lips were touching her cheek while they were talking. And I learned that you can do that, and you don't even have to be by her ear. It's better to be on her cheek because she'll be able to hear you, because basically she'll be reading your lips off of her cheek.
So when talking to a girl, and I'm assuming we're talking about a club environment where the music is loud.
Music. I wouldn't recommend going doing that on the street. That can lead to bad things.
Unless you like getting slapped in the face and being chased out of places. All right, so if we're in a club, music is blaring. I want to talk to a girl. I shouldn't talk into her ear. I should talk with my lips brushing up against her cheek. So,
yeah. And I would recommend after the second or third time, you get closer and closer till that's where you wind up. I wouldn't say start off there, but you gradually move to where you've gone over so many times that it justifies you being able to get that close, because she can't really hear you, and you don't want to yell in her ear.
Okay, so you don't go right into her face to talk to her. You don't go right into the cheek. You actually start from a distance and just...
Right. You start with the ear and you work your way down.
And she can actually hear you better if you talk into her cheek than directly into her ear.
Right, and there's no reverberation. You know, like when someone yells in your ear and you got to, jump back because it hurts.
Right.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about that.
One of the things that you had talked about earlier, you were mimicking or modeling these guys that you believed were good with women. You did what they did in terms of their body language, in terms of the way they held themselves. The fact is, though, because you didn't really know what to say, nor did you really have an idea of what you were doing, at least when you started.
Right.
You must have gotten rejected a lot when you first started.
Actually, I wouldn't say I got rejected. I think they turned me down politely, more so than just straight out rejected me. Because I guess the fact that I had enough courage to walk up to them and try and carry on a conversation, I got lots of brownie points. But
brownie points is not enough.
Not at all. Nah, brownie points don't do anything for you.
Did you ever get a phone number from just brownie points?
Not in the beginning. Not in the beginning. They would magically have boyfriends, or it was really nice talking to you, or that kind of stuff.
So how did you handle that kind of rejection? And remember, we're talking about guys who are starting out with this early in their development. How do you just plow through and just keep going when you keep getting blown off?
Well, for starters, dating is almost like politics. I mean, basically, you're out there campaigning. You're sitting there, putting your bid in, talking to enough women, and the better you get, the less women you have to talk to, obviously, because your skill set is up. But in the beginning, you have to go out there, hit the campaign trail, and talk to as many women as possible, and you'll learn from those experiences. You'll be able to try different things, see what works with your personality, see what doesn't. You have to formulate a game plan for each situation. So basically it turns into a big chess match. and learning different situations, different circumstances, different women, because there are different types of women that you can talk to, different venues. So it was a long, large learning curve.
You're listening to Frank Talks, Pleasures and Lifestyles. We got a break for commercial. When we come back, we'll be talking to Will H. about the game.
Honest, frank approaches, trusted professional conduct, timely taboo topics, and the most eclectic ensemble of interview guests ever produced. Listen to Frank Talks to learn about the different sides of the human spirit. Be sure to visit our website at www.franktalks.com for the most up-to-date information and the latest downloads of programs just like the one you're listening to now.
Frank Talks is sponsored in part by From Loser to Seducer by Frank B. Kermit. Ladies, is there a man in your life that got dumped for being clingy, needy, or was told he was a loser, but you still think he's a nice guy and want to help him? He could be a relative or even a friend, and you know he needs the help. Do you want to be the one to give him the gift that will change his life forever? How about the gift of a great biography? Buy him the book, From Loser to Seducer by Frank B. Kermit. It is the story of a nice guy who triumphs over his inner demons to find his own hidden power. Help the nice guy in your life discover his inner seducer to find his soulmate. Buy this book now at franktalks.com.
Frank Talks is sponsored in part by Everything Out of Her Mouth is a Test, a man's guide to the emotional needs of women. What would your life be like if you knew exactly what to say and do with women? This book is for the guy that simply wants to learn how to handle women's tests by addressing her emotional needs. By this, you create the type of attraction that will make her see you as the one she was destined to be with. This book will teach you how to get the woman you want and how to keep her. Everything Out of Her Mouth is a Test is the Rosetta Stone for men to understand exactly what a woman means when she speaks and how to respond. Is that worth changing your life forever? Buy this book at franktalks.com now.
You're listening to Frank Talks, Pleasures and Lifestyles. I'm Frank because I have to be. Our website is franktalks.com, and today we're talking with Will. He was featured at both CliffsList Conventions. He was featured on the David D'Angelo interview series, and he's on Frank Talks today. Welcome back, Will.
What's going on, Frank?
All right, in the last segment you were talking about approaching women, and when you're starting out, yeah, you're getting rejected, but the better you get, the less women you have to approach. Brings me to my next question for you, Will. Is it all a numbers game?
I would say yes and no. And the reason I say that is because one thing people ask me is, well, how come I'm so successful with women? You know, what dictates my success? The first thing I would tell them is, that's because I talk to women that want to talk to me. When you do that, it's amazing how your ratio of success goes through the roof. One thing I've noticed, a lot of guys, they want to talk to all the girls that don't know they exist, don't want to talk to them, and ignore the ones that do want to talk to them. So you can hedge the bet in your favor by talking to girls that want to talk to you, and then you don't have to talk to that many girls.
So if I can summarize this, correct me if I'm wrong.
Okay.
It's a numbers game. If you're going up and talking to any girl in particular, it becomes more of a seduction or more of a calculated game if you start to screen and start to choose the women who would already be open to you.
Exactly. If you're the one selecting, then it's not a numbers game. They've already expressed interest. All you have to do is close.
All right, now here's a question. Somebody's really early in his development. He hasn't yet picked up the social norms where he would be able to identify when a girl is into him.
Okay.
How would he know how to screen? How would he know who to approach?
All right. Best way I can answer that is there's a lot of elements that go into your game. For one, standards. Most guys need to raise their standards, for starters. I mean, because you can be looking for things like eye contact, body language that's congruent to yours, but you also have to raise your standards, and that's a big thing. When I was younger, coming through the game, I noticed that a lot of guys, as the later it gets, the lower the standards get. I mean, you start off at 11 o'clock, you're looking for Angelina Jolie. 12 o'clock, you're looking for Carmen Electra. 1 o'clock, you're looking for Jennifer Lopez. 2 o'clock, you're looking for George Lopez. I mean, so, fellas, you gotta raise your standards.
You know, I really want to debate this part with you. What I'm finding is that a number of guys who are new to the game will come up with such high standards, maybe standards higher than their own level of game, that they're using it as a form of creative avoidance. They want to avoid the pain of approaching. They want to avoid, if they have an issue with sex, they want to try and avoid sex. So they create such ridiculously high standards that they don't end up getting women at all. And what's your comment on that?
That's like the chicken and the egg right there. Which comes first? I mean, yes, you got to have higher standards. You also have to talk to these women. I mean, you just can't create them so high that you don't talk to anybody and then stand on the wall all night or, you know, just look at people. And the beauty of it is, the more you talk to attractive women, the more used you come to it, and the less it'll bother you. It's kind of like the more you do something, the more comfortable you get with it. It doesn't even...
Hello? Hello? Will, you there? You know what? I think we've lost him. Yeah, well, you know what? Let's go to a commercial break, and when we come back, we'll hopefully have Will back on the line with us. You're listening to Frank Talks, Pleasures and Lifestyles.
From Loser to Seducer is the story of Frank B. Kermit. This book marks the triumph of a nice guy over most of his inner demons. This includes going from being a loser to managing 5 lovers at the same time, his first Valentine's date with 2 women at the same time, and getting back the one that got away. Want to learn how you can change your life? Buy this book at franktalks.com.
Frank Talks is sponsored in part by Everything Out of Her Mouth is a Test, a man's guide to the emotional needs of women. Ladies, does your man squash your inner vixen? When you ask him to repeat what you have just said to him, does he look at you like a deer caught in the headlights? Does he think that leaving the game on while you talk to him is a good idea? Is his favorite phrase, "Yes, dear, you are absolutely right"? Does wife or girlfriend mean boring and dull to him? Ladies, don't you wish that he knows what you mean when you ask him if you look fat? Then you need to buy him the book, Everything Out of Her Mouth is a Test, a man's guide to the emotional needs of women. On sale now at franktalks.com.
Frank Talks is sponsored in part by the Adult Male Virgin Seminars and Telephone Consultations. If you are an adult and want to get a handle on this once and for all, you need this seminar. Being an adult male virgin can be most stigmatizing in today's society. You feel like a failure in the eyes of the mass culture around you, alienated from your male friends who all talk about their sexual conquest, and you must hide this shameful secret lest they use it against you. And the very personal pain, anguish, and despair that cannot be described by words that haunts you every moment of your life. Enough is enough. It is time for male virgins to take charge of their sex lives. Frank gives you the rules of winning in this seminar, the Adult Male Virgin Seminars and Telephone Consultations. Make your first time the best time of her life. Only available at franktalks.com. Frank helps adult boys turn into men.
You're listening to Frank Talks, Pleasures and Lifestyles. I'm Frank because I have to be. It's a Frank first. We got cut off for the very first time while we were live on air, and it was bound to happen. Unfortunately, it happened to Will, our guest for today. Will was on the CliffsList Convention. He's got his own products. He has his own website, youaresoinmyway.com. Be sure to visit it. Let's get back to this interview. Will.
What's up?
All right. We were talking about the idea that guys are creating ridiculously high standards when they don't even have the level of game necessary to gain girls at such high standards, and they're using it as an excuse for creative avoidance. One of the things that I do is I do seminars for adult male virgins, and this is a typical telltale sign that you're dealing with an adult male virgin when he isn't dating anybody, and one of the reasons he's not dating anybody is that his standards are too high. And you were making some comments about that.
Usually when I deal with guys like that, I'm coaching someone in that respect, the first thing they have to do is learn to be more sociable. Learn to talk to everybody. Because if you can't talk to the fellas, you'll never be able to talk to the ladies. Most guys, they can't even interact with the guys. And fellas will usually answer anything you ask them. Because, you know, we're guys.
So you're saying that a guy should just start talking to guys, get more comfortable with that, and then start approaching women?
Yeah, just to get more comfortable, period. Because, like I said, if you're not comfortable talking, you know, just hanging out with the fellas, talking about whatever, imagine what it's like talking to a lady. And women are way more astute and pick up things. They 100 times better than we do.
100%. What?
Yeah, so they can tell if you're hesitant, if you're scared, if you got a lot on your mind, if you really don't want to talk to them, you're just going through the motions. They can tell all of that right away.
Will, we have a caller online for you. We're gonna. Who's Robert from Toronto. It's Robert from Toronto wants to talk to you. Will, let's put him on air.
All right.
Hello, Robert. You're on the air. Talking to Will.
I kind of wanted to just ask Will if maybe this the game that you're referring to starts before you make contact, and that you kind of have to have your confidence. And when you approach a woman, you're approaching the woman you're worth having.
Will, did you hear the question?
I think I got the gist of it. Basically, you're asking what part does confidence play in approaching the woman that you want to talk to?
Well, yeah, and like you're going to find a woman that you want to be with, and that after you've scored her, you know, more or less, because you're really sort of talking about the initial dating process, that once you actually meet this woman, that you have something to offer, and that you actually have conversation and depth, and that there's more to you than just pickup lines.
Okay. So you're saying, how do you achieve that? Is that your question?
Well, I guess not really how do you achieve it. I guess you kind of have to have that, but if you could maybe kind of talk to the idea of how to get that in order.
Okay. Well, there's a bunch of things.
I'm going to hang up so I can listen to it, okay?
So,
All right.
All right.
Thanks for calling, Robert.
All right.
Okay, Rob, there's a bunch of ways you can accomplish that. Number one, confidence is, above all, the most important thing you can have, because women will pick that up right away. Another thing that you can use to help that out and put your game together is your wardrobe. Most guys, the clothes that they wear sends a switch that says attraction to off. Most guys, the clothes don't fit them. You know, it doesn't fit what they're trying to do. They're not appealing. A lot of too much plaid I see out there. So your wardrobe and your shoes definitely help to make you more appealing. The way you approach. This is where confidence comes into play. How you walk up to a woman says volumes. If you walk up confidently and say hello, you can say anything, actually. It doesn't even matter as long as you walk up confidently. A lot of guys will walk over like they really don't want to go, like they don't want anyone to know that they're trying to pick her up or anything. It's a secret. Or they just walk over scared and hope it goes well. Also, you can do stuff to work on your inner game, such as look for things such as eye contact. So this way you can notice women that are noticing you, help make the game easier. You can also take the time to read and digest everything you can in reference to the game. I mean, it also helps to try and learn new things every day, or talk to other guys who are in a similar situation that you are, trying to improve their game.
Will, I have a question for you
Okay.
relating to confidence, and this is what Robert was initially talking about.
Okay.
If a guy has zero confidence,
Okay.
do you believe that as long as he still goes ahead and he approaches and he's not really confident, but he does all the right things, do you think that he still might be successful?
With zero confidence, Probably not. Even if he did everything right with zero confidence, that'll be the one thing that does him in.
And if he has maybe a little bit of confidence, not very much, but just a little bit, and he still goes in and he does everything right, do you think he's got a shot?
He has a better shot. Because the confidence is going to make everything else come alive. Like your words, your mannerisms, your actions. The question is, how do you build the confidence?
Exactly, especially when you don't have any experience. Maybe you've never even kissed a girl, and you're in your early 20s. What do you do?
If you've never kissed a girl in your early 20s, well, there's a couple kiss tests out there that usually work. If you get to that point where you can kiss a girl. For instance, one of my friends, David D., he told me about his kiss test where if you can touch and play with a girl's hair, she'll more than likely allow you to kiss her. And that one usually works pretty well. There's another one that's called the Tic-Tac kiss test, and that's from my friend Craig, where he's basically gives a girl a Tic-Tac, and he tells her he's an Indian giver and takes it back.
Okay, I have to ask, does that work?
Yeah, it does, actually. I've tried it a bunch of times.
Now, do you run any game before that? Do you amp up her? Is she in the mood at that point, or do you just give her the tic-tac at the beginning of the conversation, and within 5 minutes demand it back?
Well, it also starts with some light keno, meaning touching.
Okay.
I mean, when you first meet a girl, you have to let her know that you're just a touchy-feely kind of guy. For instance, you speak, you touch her shoulder, you lean in, you brush up against her, you touch her arm. There has to be touching in the beginning. Otherwise, if you don't touch her, when you start to do it, she's going to be weirded out because she doesn't see you as a touchy kind of guy.
All right, so from the beginning, you have to be a touchy-feely guy and not make it where you're very distant at first and then going in for touchy-feely. Is that what you're saying?
Your attitude has to be, this is going to happen anyway. I'm really comfortable with this. This is just how it is. It's just me.
All right. Now, something you said there I think is very key. You have to be comfortable with the touching initially.
Right.
Because
everything that happens, you have to be congruent with it. It's like you see guys that do things and you're amazed. To them, it's just normal because they're congruent with it. They expect this to happen. If you don't expect it to happen and you're not congruent with it, then it's not going to happen.
All right, we're talking about being touchy-feely, right?
Right.
Let's say you're going into a situation and a guy, he's still very new at this, he's not comfortable being touchy-feely, but he goes ahead and does it anyway. How can he avoid coming off like a creepy guy?
Okay. You can start with, by most women, when you introduce yourself to them, they'll offer to shake your hand. You can do something like hold the shake maybe a second or two too long. From there, when you lean in, to go touch them, to talk to them, you always make sure there's contact. Whether you wrap your arm around her to go when you lean in to say something, or you touch her shoulder in conversation. Always make, even if it's light touching. You don't have to, start off really aggressive, but you can work your way till you feel stuff that you feel comfortable with. You only feel comfortable just touching her hand or her shoulder, then start with that and just keep doing it.
All right, so the way to avoid coming off as a creepy, octopus type of guy is to just touch lightly and touch in areas that you already feel comfortable touching.
Exactly. It has to cater to your comfort level.
What about touching of any of the genital area?
I'm all for it.
Yeah, I figured that. Let me be more clear in the question before you put me on the spot like that again. You're in a club with a girl.
Right.
You have started getting touchy-feely with her. You're touching her hand, touching her shoulder, playing with her hair. Maybe at this point you've even kissed her. Do you even bother touching the genitals at that time? Do you save it for later in the evening? Is it even possible to touch a girl in the genitals while you're, just meeting her? And if so, how long would that normally take from the time you first approach her to the time you'd be touching her genitals?
All right. Yes, it is possible. And two, unless you have the skill set to take her home soon after, I wouldn't recommend it. Because most guys, when you're in that zone, you've basically gone past the point of no return. Where you, at that point, everyone is seeing you doing all kind of ungodly things with this woman. All the other women in the spot, the club, whatever, they're watching this. They see this. So unless you can actually take that woman home, I wouldn't advise it. Because now you've done a whole bunch of heavy petting and touching and, dancing and freaking and everything. And if the girl's like, well, thank you, I had such a nice time, you were so nice, and she walks away, you're pretty much done in that venue.
You don't think...
No other chick in that place is going to even give you the time of day.
Why do you think that is? I mean, a girl's already shown that you are obviously attractive enough to get with to begin with. Why would women then say, no, man, you've already been with her, I don't want it?
That's precisely why. Because, number one, they're saying, well, if you couldn't close the deal and take her home, why would I want to be with you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I mean, you're still here and she's not. You messed up somewhere, buddy. So no self-respecting woman is going to even want to deal with you after that. You pretty much got to go to a different club. And they're right. You should have took her home. So I agree with them.
All right. So then the women aren't noticing the fact that you got the girl. They're only interested in the fact that you lost her in the end.
Right. And you did all of that, this big public display of affection, and got nothing to show for it. That right there symbolizes a hole in your game.
All right. Here's a situation. I'm sure you've been asked this question many times. You're at that point. You're ready to take her out of the club, going to your place, going to her place. Of course, between the time that you stop touching her and making out with her to the time you get her into the cab or into your car, there might be some resistance. There might be some sort of, I don't know, maybe we shouldn't be doing this. How do you handle that?
I agree with everything they say. Whatever it is, you know what? You're right. We shouldn't be doing this. But don't stop kissing me, though.
So what if she says...
Put your hand right here. Yeah, you know what? I'm with you all the way. I think this is going way too fast. Oh, stop. Don't do that. But, yeah, I mean, I don't even think we should go to my place. I think we should go to your place because it's closer so we can talk about why we should not be doing this. So, I mean, I agree with everything they say.
So you agree with everything they say, and then you use it to your advantage?
Yes. Because with women, you can't go by what they say. You have to go by what they're doing. Because a girl could be telling you how much she can't stand you, and she hates you, and yet she has her arms wrapped around you and is kissing your neck.
I want you to, you got to repeat that line again. When it comes to women...
You can't go by what they say. You have to go by what they do. Because a woman could be telling you how much she can't stand you and how she hates you, and yet have her arms wrapped around you, kissing your neck.
I think that you've just worded a brilliant bit of genius there. And this is going out to all the nice guys listening. When a girl is complaining about her boyfriend, who's so bad to her, who's so mean to her, and she's so happy to have you as a friend to be her therapist, who's going to listen to her problems at 3 o'clock in the morning, don't listen to what she's saying. Look at the fact that she's having sex with the boyfriend, but no sex with you.
Exactly. And I'll tell you something else, guys. If you don't do anything else, get really good at sex. Great sex eliminates 98% of all your problems. Women will be in denial about some outlandish stuff because of great sex.
You mean like the other 4 girlfriends?
Yeah, that too. I mean, but look at it like this. And I will say this, you will, as the guy, if you become great at sex, you will pay the price. And I'll go through the dichotomy of great sex. Well, first of all, good sex is hard to find. great sex is damn near impossible. So when a woman finds great sex, she will do whatever she has to do to keep it. She doesn't have to like you to want to sleep with you.
And how long do you think that she'll continue to stay with you as long as you're giving her great sex?
As long as possible. Because, like I said, it's hard to find. And then even if she does leave and she goes to some guy who's mediocre at best, she'll come back to you. No pun intended.
And she'll do that while she's with the new guy, I would assume.
She'll just leave the new guy. Once you've had great sex, you go back to mediocre, you can't wait to get back to great sex. That's guys and girls. I'll put it like this. And here's the funny part. When you have great sex, you can always tell with a woman because she'll have that afterglow. I mean, she'll look really good. All her friends could tell that she just had great sex. And, you know, it's almost like if you was watching The Price is Right and they called her name, it's like, come on down. I mean, you know, that kind of thing. But with the guy, after great sex, I mean, he's worn down. I mean, he's dragging himself to work. All the fellas like, damn, B, what happened to you? No, he's walking around with a knapsack. They're playing the theme song to the Incredible Hulk.
Da, 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 da.
You know?
Da, 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 da.
You know, he's walking down the street trying to hitch a ride.
That song always made me teary-eyed.
That's the great sex is like for a guy.
Oh man. Okay, so that brings us to the next question, dude. A guy who maybe let's not go with the virgin example now. Let's talk about a guy, maybe average guy. He's had a couple of girlfriends. We're looking at a decent-looking guy with just basic social skills.
Okay.
Maybe at this point he's had one long-term relationships, maybe a one-night stand. He's dated a few here and there. He's maybe been with 4 different women, but he's young. He's inexperienced. They were inexperienced or very shy. They weren't taking the lead. What would he have to do to start to become a magnificent lover?
Wow. I don't even know where to start with that.
All right, we'll tell you
So many things.
why don't we go to a commercial break, and when we come back from commercial, Will is going to answer or attempt to answer that question: where does an average guy who's given mediocre sex learn to become magnificent? We're going to go to commercial right now here on Frank Talks.
Frank Talks is sponsored in part by Everything Out of Her Mouth is a Test, a man's guide to the emotional needs of women. Ladies, does your man squash your inner vixen? When you ask him to repeat what you have just said to him, does he look at you like a deer caught in the headlights? Does he think that leaving the game on while you talk to him is a good idea? Is his favorite phrase, "Yes, dear, you are absolutely right"? Does wife or girlfriend mean boring and dull to him? Ladies, don't you wish that he knows what you mean when you ask him if you look fat? Then you need to buy him the book, Everything Out of Her Mouth is a Test, a man's guide to the emotional needs of women. On sale now at franktalks.com.
You want to learn new things? Want to meet new people? Want to discover real possibilities? Listen to Frank Talks, Pleasures and Lifestyles in Making the World a Better Place. Be sure to visit our website at www.franktalks.com for the most up-to-date information and the latest downloads of programs just like the one you are listening to now.
From Loser to Seducer is the story of Frank B. Kermit. This book marks the triumph of a nice guy over most of his inner demons. This includes going from being a loser to managing 5 lovers at the same time, his first Valentine's date with 2 women at the same time, and getting back the one that got away. Want to learn how you can change your life? Buy this book at franktalks.com.
You're listening to Frank Talks, Pleasures and Lifestyles. I'm Frank because I have to be. Our website is franktalks.com. We're talking with Will, who runs the website youaresoinmyway.com. We're singing the Incredible Hulk theme song, the theme song from The Price is Right, and having a great old time. Will, how you doing?
What's going on, Frank?
All right. Before the last commercial break, the question was asked, Will, how does an average guy who gives mediocre sex learn to become a magnificent lover? What's your answer?
Well, number one, my first answer would be foreplay. Learn how to do lots of foreplay.
I can actually just hear all the women out there cheering.
Oh yeah.
They're applauding with their legs right now. That's how happy they are. I can totally hear it. Keep going, Will. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt.
Oh, that's okay. I mean, most guys think foreplay is the drive over. Go ahead, start without me. I mean, I'll be up in a minute. So yeah, there's definitely no foreplay. And foreplay is simply, it can start with hand holding, light touching, smelling her neck, gently rubbing your hands all over her body, because her whole entire body is one sensuous region, not just the genitalia area. I mean, you can jumpstart her just by touching her shoulder, her knee, her back. So definitely get into foreplay.
How long does foreplay last, Will?
With me, usually a few hours, but generally I would say at least it lasts 15, 20. Let her dictate the tempo. Just keep doing it until you see she can't take it anymore, and let her dictate you going to the next level.
So you actually, wait, let me get this straight. You actually let her decide the pacing of this.
Right. I mean, of course, you're controlling with the foreplay. You're creating sensations, different stimulations, that kind of stuff, but you let her enjoy that.
What's the longest session of foreplay you think you've ever had?
4.5 hours.
4.5 hours of foreplay.
Yeah, and not including the drive over.
Okay. Thank you for being specific. And you know what? There is a guy out there who I'm sure needed to hear that.
Oh, yeah.
I'm absolutely...
Also, something else, guys, that'll really help, music. I hardly hear anybody talk about music.
What kind of music are we looking at, Will?
Well, preferably we're talking about mellow, slow music, whether some jazz or some light R&B or soft rock, something like that. Something that'll actually get her into the mood, because women listen to the words. You know, most guys, they just turn on the TV and go from there. Some songs I will recommend that you don't play if you've never had sex with this woman. Anything early vintage Janet Jackson. I mean, she had songs like "Let's Wait a While" before it's too late. So I would definitely recommend not playing early Janet Jackson.
So what you're telling me here is that the lyrics matter more than the melody when it comes to playing music for sex.
Oh yeah, like for instance, old school Teddy Pendergrass. He's talking about "Turn Off the Lights" and light a candle between the sheets.
So then any songs about bad breakups and that sort of thing out the window?
Yeah, car crashes, anything like that probably will kill the mood.
And what about instrumental music with no lyrics?
Oh, there's nothing wrong with that.
But given the choice, you should choose songs that have lyrics to heighten the mood as opposed to instrumental?
How would you go with the ones with the words first and instrumental second? Because you can even put on light jazz.
All right.
Also, depending on how old the girl is, will help determine which genre of music you put on. Like if she's in her early 20s, that kind of thing, it would be better for you to put on some R&B from this generation, 2000, this generation. If she's a little older and she probably knows the songs, you can put on the other ones.
So we're looking for music that she grew up with, is that it?
Well, that she's familiar with.
Okay.
Different women of different ages relate to different songs.
Got it. All right, Valentine's Day is coming up. What are your quick comments, your ideas on the topic of Valentine's Day for men?
Don't do it. Don't do it, fellas.
Don't do what?
Well, if you're going to deal with Valentine's Day, I would suggest one of two things. Either you go all out, all the bells and whistles, you do the whole... And this got to be your girl, though. This just can't be someone that you're just, sleeping with or anything. It's got to be your actual girl. They'll appreciate that. But you go all out, make the day out of it. rent a room, have some candles, that kind of stuff.
Okay, so if we're dealing with either a wife or a primary lover, a primary girlfriend, something long-term.
It'll make the next 3-4 months a lot smoother for you if you go all out.
Too true.
This will last way past Easter. It might get you to Memorial Day.
Oh, and what a day to remember it will be.
You know, you mess up Valentine's Day, you're in for a rough summer. That sounds like the groundhog that comes up and says we're going to have more winter.
More cold times are coming.
Yeah, you got a rough summer, buddy.
All right. Okay, so if we're dealing with someone who is a long-term woman in your life, go all out on Valentine's Day. Otherwise, so what would you do with a girl, let's say, that you're dating for 3 months?
3 months? Well, it depends on how serious you want the relationship to be. Because remember, this is just like New Year's. If you spend Valentine's Day with that chick or that girl, they take that to mean something real serious.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just one of those days that say, yeah, he's serious with me, and, you know, this could be going places. So remember that when you're spending time with a girl. If it's just someone that, you know, you like the way the situation is, you don't want to escalate to anything else, you know, you don't want to change the game in the ninth inning, then I would suggest just a phone call, you know, you talk to her, text message, but you don't actually see her on Valentine's Day.
What about the concept that, you know, Valentine's Day is one of the worst days for harem management, because if you're dating more than one woman, they, you know, you have to choose one, or you don't choose any of them, and chances are they'll spend Valentine's Day with someone else.
Okay. To answer that question, if you're dealing with a bunch of different women, and I'm assuming it's just sex or it's just a cool type relationship where, you know, you guys get together and whatever, correct?
Yeah, and maybe there's a possibility of one or two of those relationships getting more serious down the road.
Okay. Well, if you don't see him on a regular basis as it is, then you can always come up with a reason why you won't see him on Valentine's Day. That won't be a problem. If you're only seeing him once, twice, you know, a month, 3 times a month, something like that, it won't be a problem not seeing him on Valentine's Day.
All right.
They'll understand. But if you see him all the time, that'll be a problem. So that's a problem that you created a long time ago. And now that Valentine's Day is here, everything is coming to a head.
And I think that's why a lot of guys are not in town when Valentine's Day happens.
That's what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, run. Run from your problems.
Yeah, at least for that one night. All right.
When you come back, they all going to be waiting there for you and mad.
Well, they'll be mad, but that's good emotional range. You know, women like a little bit of drama.
Well, see, here's the thing. If the sex is great between you two, you'll be all right.
It all comes down to the sex, you think?
Oh, yeah. She'll be mad at you. At the same time, she'll be saying, well, I'm not going to penalize myself.
Yeah. Another bit of genius there. As long as the sex is magnificent, she will not penalize herself by getting rid of you.
Uh-huh.
Oh, this show's going to get quoted. You know that.
Oh, yeah.
You know this show's going to get quoted.
She was like, I'll get them back some other way. I'm telling you, she'll be sitting there after you guys finish having sex. She'll be sitting there buttoning up her blouse, talking about, don't think this changes anything.
I'm still mad at you. Well, this thing is going on a new tangent that we could fill another show with, but we have run out of time. Let's go with some product plugs. Tell us what you're up to. Tell us about your website. Tell us about your CDs and where Will is going to be in the future.
All right. First thing I'd like to say, the name of my website is youareshowinmyway.com. Everything spelled out. YOUARE, etc. First product that we came out with, which we're really proud of, is Will on Approaching. This talks about the basic, there's a lot of basic things on how to approach, when to approach, certain things you can say. For instance, it doesn't matter what you say, it's how you say it. You can walk up to a chick and say, I'm Rick James, bitch, and she'll respond to you, because it doesn't matter what you say. Also, there's a live interview of me with one of my students on the CD that you'll enjoy. The second one is Will Live in New York. Now, this is a class I gave almost 2 hours long. It's jam-packed full of stuff that you can utilize. You'll definitely love the ATM receipt bit that's in there. That'll get you a lot of play with that one. And that covers quite a few things. Also, we have different boot camps that we offer. The first one is high probability dating. Now, this one puts the game in your favor. Takes all the guessing out of dating. It helps you to be the selector, not the selected. You can actually control the frame and dictate whether or not you want to talk to this girl. This year, we're going to be focusing on things like inner game, comedy for pickup artists. That's going to be one of our workshops that's coming out in April. We have a girl on our team. She's called the Tweaker Chick, and she's going to teach guys how to get in her pants. So proud of that. We're also going to be teaching a boot camp on dating Latin women. Since I've always been into Latin women, and I get a lot of emails about, well, how do we date Latin women? Well, your prayers have been answered. Also, another thing, interracial dating, because those two go hand in hand, and we're going to focus on that. And for all you guys out there who are advanced game, we're going to also have a stripper mini camp. So we're going to help you guys deal with strippers, the whys, how comes, what to do, what not to do. And also like to introduce, we have a team of dating superstars that we're going to be working with over the next 6 to 12 months that's coming on board with us. So pretty much that's what we got going on, Frank.
That sounds great, Will. We've run out of time. I have to say goodbye to you now, but you are always welcome to come back onto Frank Talks, Pleasures and Lifestyles.
Always a pleasure, Frank.
All right, before we sign off, I just want to say that we've got our website, franktalkswithans.com. I'm Frank because I have to be, and it's been a pleasure talking to you this week. Good night, everybody.
Frank Talks is sponsored in part by Everything Out of Her Mouth is a Test, a man's guide to the emotional needs of women. What would your life be like if you knew exactly what to say and do with women? This book is for the guy that simply wants to learn how to handle women's tests by addressing her emotional needs. By this, you create the type of attraction that will make her see you as the one she was destined to be with. This book will teach you how to get the woman you want and how to keep her. Everything Out of Her Mouth is a Test is the Rosetta Stone for men to understand exactly what a woman means when she speaks and how to respond. Is that worth changing your life forever? Buy this book at franktalks.com now.
If you need help with your relationships, my buddy Frank, he's got some tips. Just go to franktalks.com. His advice is better than your mom's. He knows what you're going through, Frank has been there too. So log on to franktalks.com. franktalks.com.
Need help with love, sex, dating and relationships? Visit franktalks.com.
Need help with love, sex, dating, and relationship issues? Help from Frank Kermit, the best-selling author and Canada's most international relationship coach, is only a click away at franktalks.com. Coaching available in person, by phone, and by Skype. For singles, couples, and alternative lifestyles, franktalks.com.
What do you do when you feel like a fool? When your heart has been broken again? Pick up the phone or get onto Skype and talk on a private session. Yeah, get a little help from Frank Talks. Whoa, whoa, get by with a little help from Frank Talks. You gotta try a little help from Frank Talks. What do you do when your love goes away? Try coaching one-on-one. How do I sign up to turn things around? Just sign up at franktalks.com. Yeah, get by with help from Frank Talks. I get by with little help from Frank Talks. Time to try a little help from Frank Talks. Doesn't cost a lot of money. It's the best rate going around. But it costs a lot of money. Oh, it's worth every cent that you will put down. Yeah. FrankTalks.com. Oh, you got to go to get your help from FrankTalks.com. Yeah, yeah. FrankTalks.com. Would you believe that Frank gets results? Yes, we're certain. Just read the reviews. Frank knows his stuff, and Frank's got the goods. Good love can soon come to you.